Before we start, this episode might annoy some people, because today isn't about hype, panic, or recycled narratives. It's about why Arsenal are behaving the way they are, and what that tells us about where this team is actually heading. Stick with us until the end, because one of these decisions matters a lot more than people realise.
And it's probably not the one everyone's shouting about.
Let's start with Gyökeres, because this is the perfect example of how football conversations go wrong. He scores, gets an assist, and suddenly the narrative flips. But nothing clicked overnight. What changed was usage. He's not a striker who thrives standing still. He thrives attacking space, running channels, arriving with intent. That's where the efficiency comes from.
And fans forget, confidence doesn't just magically appear. You earn it when the setup makes sense.
Exactly. In football, like business, clarity comes before confidence. Give a player clarity and the output follows. Let me explain this properly. Quick reset on Gyökeres. This is profile, not form. He's not a striker who lives on touches. He's a striker who lives on timing. Most of his value comes attacking the channel between centre-back and full-back, usually from a wider starting position. At Sporting, his goals came when he was running towards goal, not posting up with his back to it. That's why shot power matters. He's striking on the move. So when people talk about low touches, they're misreading the role. Efficiency forwards don't need volume. They need access to space. Give him that consistently and the output becomes predictable.
Okay, but let's talk injuries. Because when Saliba and Trossard popped up, people panicked.
And panic is understandable, but rarely useful. Here's the thing. Arsenal don't leak injury news accidentally. Timing matters. Context matters. Saliba isn't just a defender. He's emotional stability. Trossard isn't just depth. He's efficiency per minute.
So it's not who's injured. It's how prepared are we for moments like this?
Exactly. Great teams don't avoid injuries. They absorb them. Let me explain this properly. With injuries, it's important to understand game state impact. Saliba doesn't just defend. He allows Arsenal to hold a higher line. That compresses space, keeps midfielders closer, and shortens recovery distances. Without him, Arsenal don't just lose a defender. They lose territorial control. Trossard is different. His value is efficiency. Fewer touches, higher impact. He's the player you bring on when games stall. So when both names appear on an injury list, it's not panic, it's recalibration. Elite teams don't ask who's out. They ask, what control do we lose and how do we replace it? And the funny thing is, both players was in the starting lineup. Which brings us neatly to the transfer window. Everyone loves action, headlines, signings. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most January transfers are emotional decisions.
And expensive mistakes.
Exactly. Arsenal's restraint right now isn't hesitation, it's intention. They're not chasing noise, they're protecting chemistry. One wrong signing doesn't just waste money, it disrupts trust.
So sometimes the smartest move is doing nothing.
Let me explain this properly. January windows are where clubs often hurt themselves. The risk isn't signing the wrong player, it's signing the right player at the wrong time. Arsenal's current squad works because roles are understood. Automatism matters. Players know where teammates will be before they receive the ball. A January signing has to learn that mid-season under pressure. That's why restraint is a strategy, not hesitation. Depth isn't about numbers, it's about trust. Remember what I said at the start? One of these things ties all of this together.
This is where it clicks.
So let's talk about Arteta, because this is the thread running through everything. Early Arsenal were controlled. Now, they're controlled and confrontational.
Yeah, there's edge now. Not chaos, edge.
That's growth. He hasn't abandoned principles, he's layered them. Elite teams don't just dominate possession, they dominate moments. Let me explain this properly. Arteta's biggest evolution isn't tactical, it's emotional. Early Arsenal controlled games with the ball. Now they control moments without it. You see it in fouls taken early, in duels chosen wisely, in knowing when to slow games down. That's elite coaching. The best managers don't just design systems, they design behaviour. And Arsenal now behave like a team that expects to win.
And you could see that in the FA Cup rotation.
Exactly. Rotation doesn't mean trusting everyone equally. It means trusting the system so much that individuals can change without standards dropping. Young players learn in structure. Senior players rest without guilt.
That's how long runs are built.
Quietly, intentionally. Let me explain this properly. Rotation only works when standards are non-negotiable. Arsenal rotate roles, not principles. Spacing stays the same. Pressing triggers stay the same. Rest defense stays the same. So players aren't guessing, they're executing. That's why young players don't look lost and senior players don't look rusty. This is what squad depth actually looks like. Not names, but understanding. And this is why I said earlier, one decision matters more than the rest. It's not the injuries, it's not the transfers, it's not even the results. It's the clarity. When a club has that, everything else follows.
And that's why the conversations feel different this season.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you're subscribed. Because we don't do noise here, we do context. See you next episode.